Evolved, your home for Halo.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special Jazwares review here on Podcast Evolved. This is probably the most special Jazwares product that has been released to date. It is the 20th anniversary Target exclusive Halo Infinite and Halo Combat Evolved combo pack. So you can see we get a classic Grunt, a classic Spartan or classic Master Chief, a modern day Infinite Grunt that is different to the one in the 2-pack. I grabbed it to check. This one has some blue paint apps that one did not have. A new rendition of the Master Chief with a shinier visor. And you can see on the back we have got the dual branding of both the classic Combat Evolved and Halo Infinite. Really rare item, really hard to get your hands on. Really appreciate my buddy Tim at Collect Jurassic for helping me to import this one. So what we'll do here, we'll open up the tray. I think we'll get one figure out at a time and probably look at them one at a time. Okay, so we do get 4 display bases. You can see we've got 2 that are kind of the same tone of grass. You can see them there. One that's a little bit lighter, got a little bit different texture work to it. And then some rocky one as well. My description of display bases is not all there. But interesting enough, I will get these out later on. So we won't take a look at them now. But I'll stitch in a photo of all 4 of them. Okay, and then the figures themselves are in this nice plastic sleeve. You can see there, we have got the Combat Evolved characters and the Halo Infinite characters. We'll start with the Halo Infinite rendition of Master Chief. So, we will squeeze this figure out as gently as we can. Oh, come on Chief. Right, okay, so this is quite a cool rendition right off the bat. Because it's a darker green colour scheme. So you can see, if I get that to focus, there we go. We'll move this out of shot, move this out of shot. Then this is a darker green version of the Infinite Chief. It does have very, very tight arm joints, which is interesting. You can see there, there's kind of this really nice shiny visor. That's the bit that stands out. It's almost the reflective material that they used on the Spartan collection in many ways. Very similar. If I bring in a more traditional release Chief, you can see the colours are very different. This one's a lot darker, a lot more authentic to the in-game version, I would say. It is interesting. The visor here is a separate piece, so it's glued on. And what that means is there is a very, very slight unsightly seam line you can see just at the top there, but it's not awful. It works well enough. The head goes forward and back. I'm not going to try that again because I don't want to break it. You've got some good, if we can get it in focus. For some reason my camera hates focusing on the Jazwares figures. You've got the burn mark on the chest, the little 117. You get the assault rifle with the yellow stripe, as you can see there. You get the little detail of the grapple shot. I do think this should pop out from the armour a little bit further, but it looks quite cool as it is. You get obviously the legs, all of the normal articulation you'd expect, some detail on the back, and the thing that really stands out with this version, I would say, above everything else, is that silver dry brushing that's applied here. He can quite easily actually hold his MA40. You can see, there you go, you've got a good pose of Chief holding the MA40. Looks quite nice, quite tactical. Quite a cool rendition of Chief actually, probably the best Infinite version they've done yet, I would argue. Looks pretty good. Does he stand well? That's the test. Yeah, he stands decent enough. Not a new sculpt by any means, but a cool looking figure. So that's the Infinite Chief. Then the Grunt comes with this plasma pistol, the Infinite Grunt. we can get it in focus. There we go. I think that this is the Combat Evolved Grunt's plasma pistol. I think they've packaged them the wrong way. So I'm going to put that to one side and include that with the Combat Evolved Grunt when we look at it, which is shown with this plasma pistol, purely because this is the Halo 5 sculpt. So I'm thinking this one's for the Infinite Grunt. So we'll go with this one, and we'll pop the Grunt out now. Oh, and we have got some damages. So the issue with this pack is the plastic packaging around the figures is a lot tighter than with other figures. So you can see there, the leg has just popped off. Luckily, because it's a ball socket, it does just clip back on. But the way this pack is packaged, I think, artificially enhances the risk of breakage occurring, which is really sad actually, because these are some really cool figures. I just don't think the packaging choices made here were fully thought out. Now, the Grunt can hold the plasma pistol. I don't think it would be able to hold the Combat Evolved version that it was packed with, because there's not really enough space. You can see just there, not really enough space to squeeze it in, but it does hold this version well enough. You can snap up the gas mask, as you can see there, and this has a lot more paint apps than the 2-pack release. You can see the 2-pack one is just grey. This one has got some additional blue paint applications on the back as well, which looks quite cool. So it's kind of very similar, actually different skin tone as well, if you can make that out on the camera, just slightly different, which is quite cool. This has got all of the usual Grunt articulation. The more I look at this, the more I can see there's a lot more secondary paint applications on this figure, in terms of like the greys around here as well, and the greys around the vest. So this is like a nicely painted premium version of the 2-pack Grunt essentially, which is really cool. So those are your two Infinite figures you get included. You get Chief and a Grunt. Quite a cool combo of figures actually, I like them. And now we're moving on to the classic ones. And these are the ones where if I have any breakages occur, I will probably start crying on camera. So a little bit nerve-wracking already, because Chief's arm kind of sprung outwards as I opened him then. Oh, okay, interesting. So the diaper piece in the middle did just clip apart as I pulled the figure out. I've clipped it back on, but I'm not particularly confident with the durability of that assembly. His arms feel good. He looks good. He looks the part, if we can get it to focus on him. Definitely looks like Combat Evolved Chief. You've got loads of nice paintwork. Oranges for the lights, greys, greens, blacks, blues. He's only got one light painted. I wonder if he should have two painted there. I think he should have both of them painted, so that's quite an interesting discrepancy. Good range of motion on this figure, just that assembly, this had sort of pulled apart. You can kind of see there, it's splitting again a bit. It had pulled apart as I took it out of the packaging, so I don't really want to mess around with this one too much. I've seen some horror stories with this figure, I will be honest, so I am glad that it looks like it's decently intact compared to some of the other ones I've seen out there. And again, it has got the separate visor, so you can see really nice visor that catches the light quite well. And obviously, because this is Chief from Combat Evolved, he does come with the classic MA5B. Now, they have cheated a little bit on this one, because this is definitely an MA5C mould, and there's a distinction between the two where it's a little bit thinner around the ammo counter and bar, I would say, and this is definitely the more modern version of the MA5, but that I would imagine is so they can use the same AR for any Halo 3 figures that they do as well. So obviously we've got the Halo 3 Chief coming out with the Warthog and Arbiter soon, and it makes sense that this is the same rifle that will get included there. With that said, looks pretty good. Can I get him to hold it? That's the challenge. It's quite tight with his chest plate, I would say. Oh no, I think if you go further up, yeah, there we go. Angle it inwards a little bit, and there you go. There's Chief holding his assault rifle. Looks pretty decent. Once you've got it in that pose, you can bring it back down a bit. Looks good there as well. So yeah, we can get Chief to hold the assault rifle, just took a little bit of work. And actually, for a first attempt at a Halo 1 Chief in this scale, the first time I think we've ever got a 3 3/4 inch Halo 1 Chief. I don't know if Joyride did this scale, but for the first time Jazwares have done this. This is a very nice figure with some fantastic paint applications, and definitely one I'm happy to have in the collection. So thank you for helping me get this one, Tim. And then lastly, we have the Combat Evolved Grunt, and this is really cool because they went all in with the kind of classical look of the Grunt, and it just works so well in figure form. So you can see here, if I try and get that weapon into the hand a bit, there we go. The weapon kind of sits at an angle, which is quite cool. But you can see you've got that really classic sort of low poly look that actually works really well here. You've got some fantastic paint apps on that plasma pistol. They look really, really nice. You've got the logo just here. If it wants to focus, there we go. And then you've got some nice white paint for the nails, the knees, and yeah, that is really it. This is a cool Grunt. It's a really cool Grunt. It captures the classic aesthetic really, really nicely. So I'm actually really happy with this one. I'd like to see a single card release of this one, and maybe the red version as well. The major would be awesome. But yeah, that really brings this 4-pack to a close. I feel if I get them all posed up, this is where it could go catastrophically wrong. I think like that, possibly. Maybe. Yeah, we'll go like that, then we'll get the Chief in. I may have edited some photos in at this point to give you a better viewing experience, so if I have, I hope you're enjoying those. But overall, I would say that this 4-pack is a fantastic set of classic and current characters. I think the standout for me is the Combat Evolved Chief, but I think there is a lot to love in this pack. Yeah, the Infinite Chief looks great. It's a fantastic new rendition. The Infinite Grunt has got some great upgraded paint apps. And the classic Grunt has got that stylized look that we all know and love. It just does struggle with standing a little bit more. But with all of that said, this is a fantastic pack. Unfortunately, it is incredibly hard to get in the USA, and there is no international release for this pack. So a real piece of Halo nostalgia that sadly many fans won't be able to get their hands on, and I do hope that is something that is addressed with the World of Halo line more broadly going forwards. We already know that we need more availability for the core line, but exclusives like this really are where things like the Halo Gear Shop would come in handy, I think. So that's my thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed this closer look. If you did, please make sure to like, favourite, subscribe, and stay tuned here on Evolved for all of your latest World of Halo reviews as soon as we get stuff in hand. I've been Tom, thanks for watching, and Evolved.